Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Nuremberg Academy, it is my distinct pleasure to address you at the end of the Nuremberg Forum 2025. This year's theme, Strengthening International Criminal Law, 80 Years Since Nuremberg. It has been very fruitful discussions. It has been rich 3 days. We've had 5 panels and 3 discussion sessions. We are witnessing a profound moment, as has been reiterated time and time again over the past few days. I would like to end with what Undersecretary General started with, if you like, as a framing and recalling the words of Secretary General on the 23rd of September addressing the General Assembly. Quote, 80 years ago in a world scorched by war, leaders made a choice. Cooperation over chaos, law over lawlessness, peace over conflict. That choice gave birth to the United Nations, not as a dream for perfection, but as a practical strategy for the survival of humanity. 80 years on, we confront again the question of our founders faced, only more urgent, more intertwined, more unforgiving. What kind of world do we choose to build together? The pillars of peace and progress are buckling under the weight of impunity, inequality, and indifference. What kind of world will we choose? A world of raw power or a world of laws? A world that is a scramble for self-interest or a world where nations come together? A world where might makes right or a world of rights for all? And this is a very fitting closing reflection also to this forum and to the reflections that we've had marking the 80th anniversary, because it ties also, of course, in with echoes of Robert Jackson's distinction, or if you like, juxtaposition of the triumph of law over power. Now, I would like to briefly sketch the panoply of topics that we have covered, but certainly not with the ambition to summarize or to synthesize what we have said. I think it's an ongoing conversation that we have had, but I would like to take a brief moment to cherish the breadth and depth of discussions that we have had here. The topics that we've covered have included the multiplicity of actors and institutions working in the field. We've looked at norm development, norm diffusion, and norm contestation. We've looked at the interrelation between public international law and international criminal law, but also international criminal law, international human rights law, and international crimes and transnational crimes and their thinking together. We've looked at universal jurisdiction, so the role of international trials and tribunals, but also the very central place that national jurisdictions hold today, and we've heard of the pioneering role of Germany and the General Public Prosecutor in that regard. We've looked at the relationship between peace and justice and between sustainable peace and justice, and what types of justice actually have come out of these institutional judicial institutions. That led us to discussions of institutional design, institutional effectiveness, and we've heard time and time again this interplay of idealism and pragmatism at this very moment in time. The role of epistemic communities has been highlighted, the wider political context, as well as the role of justice, memory, and culture that needs to be thought together. Numerous challenges have been enumerated, and just to select a few that have been on the table, and that I think will continue to give us food for thought in terms of looking ahead, looking to those pathways, looking to those innovations that many speakers have touched upon. It's looking at cooperation, state engagement, and disengagement. It's looking at the effectiveness of these institutions. We looked at impunity and the cycle of impunity, as well as the crucial questions of immunities that will remain relevant. The political pressures that these institutions are under, the legitimacy, the prevention, the universality questions that continue to be forceful upon our minds. The important idea of survivor-centric approaches and placing survivors at the heart of the endeavors that we go forward. And of course, this idea of selective justice and the independence of the court that is so important to protect. There's been a lot of diagnostics. We've spoken about crisis mode, and I might add that it might be more apposite to speak of a polycrisis, and that has all been dissected and analysed in great depth by our expert speakers. But we didn't leave it at that. I think one of the aims of the forum was to be forward-looking, to also path out what an introspection can actually lead to future-oriented actions and embolden and heighten, enhance the practice. So some of the thinking, and in closing I'd like to sketch some of the questions that we have been left with and some expert speakers have posed to us, which I think you all will continue taking with you. And this includes, what is the role of narratives? How are we talking, and what are we exactly talking about? How are we teaching international criminal law and justice processes? What kind of justice are we actually referring to? How are justice or accountability ecosystems developing and can be strengthened? How do we learn lessons in this field? How can we already think about the moments beyond the judgments from an earlier stage in terms of thinking through residual functions, legacies? What is the role of international law more broadly? How can we strengthen the current institutions that we have and the legal frameworks that have been so laboriously and diligently created today? What is the role and responsibility of actors, including states, civil society, institutions, and courts, down to the individual level, all the lawyers, the policymakers doing the work every day? And importantly, as a resonance from the opening, how do we renew our commitment to the rules-based international legal order? This, of course, remains an ongoing conversation, and this forum has provided some answers, and I think you will continue working on answers as you go. So from the grand opening and the excellent keynote addresses to all the panel discussions, we've heard nuances, we've heard different tones, some glass half full accounts, others glass half empty, but on the balance it seems to be that there has been a cautious optimism here in the room. We've of course also heard words of caution against alarmism and fatalism. I would like to invite you to continue pondering these questions and to continue staying engaged and committed and to continue making your imprint in this world as we forcefully need all actors to continue pursuing in this collective endeavor. Now I'd like to turn to official thank yous, and first a special thank you, of course, once again to our keynote speakers, former President of the ICC and former President of the Assembly of States Parties, President Silvia Fernandez de Gormendi, as well as Her Excellency Eleanor Hammarskjöld, United Nations Under-Secretary General and UN Legal Counsel, for inspiring keynote addresses. It was really a true pleasure and privilege to have you with us, and we're very grateful for your presence here. A heartfelt thank you to all speakers for their engagement in this collective endeavor. It's been absolutely fantastic to have you with us here. Each of the panels was tremendously enriching and rewarding, and we are so grateful that the speakers accepted our invitation directly with great enthusiasm, and the echo has been so overwhelmingly positive. Please join me in thanking all the speakers. I would like to thank also in particular our moderators, Christian Much, Darlene, Philip, Gorgon, Christoph, Emma, and Pablo, who excellently guided the various discussions and did a terrific job in providing a wonderful line of discussion through our expert speakers. So please join me in thanking them also. I would also like to thank all of you. Thank you to our distinguished guests, our audience, both in person and online. It's been an absolute treat to have you with us here. You've been joining us from near and far, as we know, and it really means everything that there is representations and audience members from across the globe, from all continents, and it shows that this really is a global conversation. So thank you to all of you also. Certainly, I would like to thank our partners here in Nuremberg, especially the Higher Regional Court of Nuremberg, as well as the Memoriam Nuremberg Trials, for being such wonderful partners here at the local level in Nuremberg. It's always a tremendous joy to work together, and I want to thank all of you. Without their support, this all wouldn't be possible. And then, of course, once again to all the members in our foundation board and our advisory council, especially for your continuous support, for your input, and for many who contributed to the program in the last few days. Thank you very much for that also. And then last, but certainly not least, I'd like to turn to the team of the Academy, without whom all of this would not be possible. So I would like to thank first and foremost Kieran for the organising of the conference, the convening of the conference. Please do stand up and He's done a terrific job in convening, pulling all together, and has been the mastermind behind this. I'd also in particular like to recognise Astrid in terms of the conference organisation, as well as for sure these in the back office, those who are doing the magic all behind the scenes, especially Petra, Evelyn, Berthold and Frauke, and last but certainly not least, also our interns and working students who've done a tremendous job of pulling everything together and making everything seem so seamless. Louisa, Anna and Lawrence, please join me in thanking the full team. Well, that concludes the Nuremberg Forum. I would invite you, of course, to next year's forum, which will take place in October 2026. And in the meantime, save the date. On 28th of April, we have the upcoming Nuremberg Academy Lecture, which will be given by Judge Hilary Charlesworth, Judge at the International Court of Justice. And precisely, we will look at the intertwining of public international law, international criminal law, the subjects of international law being states and individuals, and the complex relationship between state responsibility and individual criminal responsibility. So you're all heartily invited. Once again, thank you for your support and interest, and I wish you all the best. This concludes our Nuremberg Forum. Thank you.